Hello, loves. I figured we could do a little chat today. And what I wanted to do today was give you guys one of, or maybe a couple of the story Saturdays that I had. And because I feel like it would be better to give it to you face to face, even though you've already heard it. So I'm going to take you way back to, I don't even know when. Okay. This was probably 15 or so, 20 years ago. No, not 20 years ago. Probably 15 or 16 years ago. I was on my way to work. Remember, I used to teach. I had my girls at home. My husband was going to take them to the babysitter. And I passed a yellow light. Okay, probably turned red as I went under. I'm not lying to you guys. I would tell you if I passed the red light. And I get pulled over. So I make a turn into a parking lot, and the cop gets out and he's like, right, license and registration. And I'm like, okay. So I reach into my glove compartment, and I am very stupid when it comes to this stuff. Like, I should know what it looks like, but this just shows you how many times I get pulled over because I don't know. So if you don't know what they look like, those pieces of paper, make sure you do that now, just so you are well prepared and you're not like me. So I'm like looking for them, and then I pull out the envelope that has all the stuff, and I look up at him, and I'm like, I don't know what they are. Like, what do they look like? And then he's like, license and registration. I'm like, okay. Obviously, I knew what my license was. I gave him that. But the registration and insurance papers, I didn't know what those were. So I was like, like kind of struggling, looking through them. And I'm like, is this one it? And then he's like, literally just, and so then I slowly put it back in, and I'm like, is this one it? And then he again, and I'm like, I'm not sure. If you could just, I'm sure it's in here. So then he just walks away. He doesn't say anything to me. He walks away. Okay. And I'm like, all right, maybe he's letting me off the hook. So then he comes back and he has 2 tickets for me. 2. So he hands me them and he goes, this one's for passing the yellow light. And I'm like, okay, I will accept that. I did it. And then the other one, he said, for not having your license or for your registration papers. And I was like, but I do have them. And he's like, you didn't give them to me. I'm like, but I was asking you for them. I do have it. I should not be getting a ticket for this. And he's like, that's not my responsibility. And I'm like, what the heck? So then he walks away, right? And I pretty much am livid. I'm like, you know what? Do you know how much that is? I think the passing a light is $180 and the other one is 100 some dollars. And you're talking like 17 years ago. This is a lot of money. It's still a lot of money nowadays. So I was like, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. If I'm going to be paying this much money, I am going to give him a piece of my mind. Oh, hell no. So I like rolled down my window, okay? And then I looked over at him and I go, excuse me. And I'm trying not to cry because I'm a crier, okay? And then he looks over at me. He's a little far away because he had parked far away. And I go, you know what? You're a police officer and your job is to help out people. And I was asking you for help. I didn't know what my legislation looks like, and I was showing you it, and you decided not to help me. And I go, and you know what? He's like, stops me. He's like, oh, this is really going to help you in the court. I'm like, I don't care if it helps me or not. So I was like, I'm a teacher. And when a student of mine comes up to me and says, I can't find a piece of paper or I can't find a homework or whatever assignment it was, this is exactly what I was telling him. No joke. And I was yelling too. I go, then I tell them, did you check your backpack? Are you sure you didn't leave it at home? Did you check your desk? And they're like, yeah, I checked my desk. And I tell them, let me go help you find it. I don't tell them right away, that's not my responsibility. Because I'm a teacher and I help. And I'm like, and that's what you should have done because you're a police officer and you should have helped me. And then that was it. That was it. He's like, okay, you keep arguing. You keep yelling. I'm like, yeah. So then I pulled my window back up, right? And then he leaves and that's it. Then the tears just start pouring down, all right? I'm like, I'm like a blubbery mess. How am I supposed to go to work? I was like 5 minutes away from my job, literally. So I called my husband, which was probably sleeping at that time because it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. Or even 7:30 in the morning. And he wouldn't answer. Obviously, he was sleeping and it kept ringing and it kept ringing. And I'm sitting there still going, you know, that crying, right? And I'm like, I'm a teacher that works at a charter school. I don't make much money. So this is a huge deal. So anyways, what happened was he pulls up after a couple of minutes. He pulls up next to me. I didn't see him because I'm still in tears. And then he knocks on the window. And I look at him because I was so pissed. And then I roll down the window. I'm like, my phone is still ringing with my husband. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm on the phone right now. And then he's like, could you just hang up? I'm like, I need to talk to my husband. And he's like, could you just hang up the phone? So I hang up the phone. And then he's like, so you're a teacher? And I'm like, yeah. And then he's like, where do you teach? I go, at whatever school, I don't really want to say it, but I'm like, there. And I'm like, it's only 5 minutes away. And then he's like, okay, so here's what I'm going to do for you. He's like, give me the tickets. And I'm like, here. So he takes them and he just rips them. Both of them. He rips them up. And I'm sitting there in the car like, right. And then he goes, I don't like to give teachers tickets. I guess kind of because we're in the same boat in our pay grade, you know, officers and teachers, because we get paid from the government. We get paid through taxes. So yeah, we got billions of taxes to send overseas to, it's not real, to cause a genocide, but we can't pay our teachers and police officers. So he's like, but you just got to be more careful and learn what the papers are. And I'm like, okay, I will. And then that was it. And then I went to my job. And then when I walked into the office, my eyes were all poofy and red. And they're like, what happened? And I'm like, you know what just happened? I'm all smiling now. I'm like, I just got 2 tickets ripped up. And they're like, what? So I told them the story. And I'm like, yeah. So if you ever get pulled over, tell them you're a teacher. So yeah. Okay. So story number 2 that I love so much and I always like to tell, and it got like millions of views when I first posted it on TikTok. Okay, so I had an order for a gay couple. Okay, and my mother-in-law, she would come here often. She would live with me for like 6 months at a time to get her citizenship, and she'd visit often, right? So she was here, and he walks in, tall man, all right, just so sweet and everything. Of course, I'm all dressed up, and I know I get this question sometimes. Well, if they're gay, do you really have to cover up for modesty issues? Yes, you do. You still have to. They're still male, so you still have to, even though he won't find any physical attraction in me, but still. Anyways, so he comes in. He's all like, oh my God, this is perfection, you know, very like with his hands, very, I loved it. He was just like, this is perfect. This is beautiful. I just love it. And so before I could do anything, technically we're not supposed to touch the opposite sex other than like our husband, our kids, you know, boys, my father, grandfather, uncle, and then the great uncle, great grandfather, whatever. But other than that, we're not allowed to, that's why we can't shake hands. So he pulls me in this massive hug because he just loved his cake, right? And I kind of was like before I could tell him no, we can't do that, I already was being hugged. So I just let it go. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna sit here and bother and explain, whatever. I let it go. I'm like, it's okay, it's no big deal. So then she goes, you know, I really worry about you in your house by yourself, having like random men coming to pick up cakes. I hardly have customer men orders. Usually most of the time they're women. It's very rare. So I was like, yeah, I know. But I was like, but I know him. I did know him. Like his husband was a friend of my sister's. So anyways, she goes, yeah, but still, I still kind of worry for you in that case. And then you had let him come in and hug you and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it was too late. I couldn't do anything about that. And I go, besides, he's gay. And then she goes, like, he's not going to find any interest in this, right? And then she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, he's gay. He likes men. And she goes, what do you mean he likes men? I go, he's into men, not women. And she goes, so he's married to a man? I go, yeah. And she goes, okay, but still, I still worry that he's going to come in. Like, so then she goes, well, what if he wants you? What if, you know, you attracted him so much? And then I'm like, I look down at my cardigan covered in like cornstarch, in my PJs and my scarf all wonky. And I'm like, I really don't think this is going to change him to the opposite side. I'm glad that you think so highly of me in my state right now, but I really don't think this is going to do it. She's like, you never know. I'm like, I was like, that's got to be like the nicest thing my mother-in-law said to me, but okay. I was like, yeah, no, it's fine. We're fine. But anywho, that was just a funny story. Okay, here's another one I'll share with you, and that's really the last one, in case you guys are bored. So this was pregnancy cravings that I used to have. And again, this was a story that I shared. So if you heard this, forgive me. But it was with my firstborn. I with Aya, I loved Swedish fish. You guys know the candy Swedish fish, the red candy Swedish fish, um, and I craved it so much that every time my husband would come home, he would like crinkle it behind his back, and he'd be like, "Guess what I have?" And then I'd be like jumping up and down, Swedish fish, like a little kid. And then he's like, "Yeah." So that was that. With my daughter Maya, I craved. Does anybody have around them Antonio's restaurant? If you do, it's an Italian restaurant, and they made like the best ranch dressing. Okay, so good. It's so good. Anywho, so I craved ranch dressing. That's it. I didn't want nothing with it. I didn't want salad. I didn't want like garlic bread. I wanted ranch dressing. So one day I was really, really craving it so badly. So I ordered it. I ordered a pint of ranch dressing. It was like this big, okay? No, even the bigger one, And I went and I picked it up, and I went in the restaurant, I picked it up, and that was all I ordered. And then I got in the car, and because I couldn't wait anymore, I took the lid off, and then I started gulping down ranch dressing. That was a craving I had, yeah. So till this day, I always tell that story, but yeah, with Ale, I didn't have any cravings. That was weird. I didn't have any cravings. So that will lead you into the whole, I have a question that gets asked often. What about when you go to doctors? Do you have to wear your hijab and whatnot? It depends on what specific doctor. Like if you're going to your regular doctor for a checkup, yeah, this thing stays on. But when I went to go deliver my children, okay, and I had male doctors with my first two, only because I had placenta previa, where the placenta was under the uterus, I don't know, something like that. And so I had to kind of see a specialist, and thankfully, like in the end, it all worked out. It was supposed to be like a C-section, but it wasn't. Anywho, so I had a guy, because it was a specialist, which is okay. So when my mom came to the delivery room, I had my scarf off, and he was there, and then she's like, "Well, why do you have your scarf off?" I'm like, all of me, okay, I have the little hospital gown, but there is nothing, okay? And where does the child come from? There, right? So I kind of looked at her, and I'm like, because he's going to deliver my baby. And then she's like, yeah, but you should keep your scarf on. I'm like, Ma, he's going to see everything. Everything is going to show. So she's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean you should see the hair on your head. I'm like, but... I was like, but Mom, it's okay. So yeah, I was like, what's the point? When you think about it, what's the point? So yeah, that was that. Same thing with my daughter Maya, and I can't remember Ali. You know what? I think my doctor wasn't in, and it was just some random doctor in the hospital, and I had no choice. So yeah, there you go. So it just depends on the doctor and what they need to see. I know I had like, I don't know what they're called. I think they're called cysts in my head. And I still have 3 of them. I still have one here, one here. You could feel them. Like if you go like that, you'll feel them. It's like a big bump, okay? They're not scary, but I had 2 other ones here, and they were like big. And they were just, I felt like they were uncomfortable. They don't hurt. I just felt like they were uncomfortable. So I went to a dermatologist, and his job, he pretty much shaves that part off, and then he gives you a shot to numb it. And then he just cuts it out. He scoops it out, okay, with his scooper. And then he stitches you up. And that's pretty much it. And then your head heals. I'm thinking of doing this one because I feel like it's big, and when I get a headache, I feel like it pounds, or maybe I think it pounds, but I feel like that. But I don't want to shave any more hair. Listen, okay, I'm already like I barely have hair to begin with, so just to shave that part. It's not the shaving of the whole head, it's a little one. But yeah, my whole point is he could see me, because that's like, how else is he gonna do that? You know, I don't want him blindfolded, okay? So yeah, he could see me. So doctors can see you. They have a free, like, you know, a free ticket. But yeah, I'm sure they're not looking at you in any other way than, listen, when the scarf comes off, don't let people trick you and telling you that, oh, you take your scarf off and then gorgeous flowing hair of locks flows behind you and you look like an Arabian princess. No, that's not true. It's more like scarf head, okay? It's matted to your head, all the way pulled back, because this umta right here pulls your hair back, so it's matted to your head, pulled back. It's ugly. It's, in fact, if I ever get my scarf ripped off by someone on the streets, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, don't look at me, I'm hideous. Hideous. That's not the way I would like to be exposed, okay? I would like to be exposed if my hair was ever done, which it's never really done. It's always put in a ugly clump on my head when I'm at home. But other than that, yeah, if I was exposed that way, you know, people be taking pictures. I'd be like, no, look away, look away. But yeah, so it's not like, I don't know why I continued with that. But anyways, that's it. Okay, I hope you like this chat. And if you guys, if there's any story Saturdays that you remember that you want like vividly in detail, then comment it below. Or if there's anything else you want me to chat about, comment it below. And thank you. Yellow bye.